Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a great story of our OP, in which it would have been very easy to tell the client off and tell him to get out. Instead, he turned things around and turned a very negative situation into a good one. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Today, I protected my employee. I was out of country. Now, before I left country, I had interviews. A very smart, intelligent young lady. I had every intention on hiring her and training her when I returned from my vacation. However, due to an employee getting into a car accident and being hospitalized, I was forced to hire her and have her start without me from 9 time zones away. It was only going to be 4 days, which should be fairly slow. However, because of this and the nature of the job, she could only greet people, take notes, and be nice, so I instructed to do exactly this. I also told her to explain the situation. The employee who was supposed to work today is in the hospital. Unfortunately, I'm not trained to handle your problem. I, however, am more than happy to take notes, collect contact details, and on this date, my manager will call you to take care of you. We apologize for the circumstances. She had 5 customers in that 4-day time frame. She took notes and did as she was asked, but one customer she mentioned was incredibly rude. Called her stupid, said she was lazy, etc. Whatever, crap happens. I still want his business. Maybe he was just having a bad day. Well, that customer comes in, and I begin handling his situation. Keep in mind, besides a few minutes of wasted time, this situation didn't cost him anything. Well, of course, my employee is in the office as I do the job training. He immediately resorts to insulting my employee. I ask if he was explained the situation on why she was unable to help him. He said, "That doesn't matter. She should know better. How complicated could this crap be? She's an idiot for not figuring it out." At which point I had enough. I grabbed our brochures from him, cleared my desk, looked at my employee who was standing and said, "Please have a seat." Room is silent. Customers looking at me with a strange look on his face when I start. "Look, sir, here's the deal. I normally have 2 employees working for me. This is what the market will bear. One employee just joined the military and the other one was in a car accident, meaning I had only one left to keep the office open and take notes. I hired this young lady from 9 time zones away, in another country, and she had interactions with 5 customers to include you. Out of those 5, only one said he had a negative experience, and the other 4 understood the unfortunate circumstances, which led to those 4 days of having an untrained person behind this desk. Now, because a mistake in this business could cost both myself and you a large sum of money, I instructed her to only take notes and advise the customer I'll work with them as soon as I get back. Now, I can understand that you might be frustrated with the current situation, and I apologize for that. That, however, gives you no right to call this talented, intelligent young lady a moron. Do we understand each other?" He responded with, "Well, you should have had a trained employee ready." I fired back, "Well, hindsight is 20/20, and I couldn't predict a car crash. I apologize for that. Now, what gives you the right to insult my employee?" He's quiet. "Sir, are you married?" He goes, "Yes." I go, "How would your wife feel if she saw how you acted both the day of the incident and today?" He's twiddling his thumbs. "Do you understand the situation better now?" He responds, "Yes." "Great. Now with that in mind, do you feel that it was appropriate to insult this young lady's intelligence and make her visibly upset? Is that something you're okay with?" Because I'll tell you what, I'm not okay with it. He agreed, quite shocked actually. "Sir, I feel it would be an appropriate time to apologize for how you treated this young lady. Would you agree?" He agreed. I then asked him to apologize to her, which he did. He was actually quite sincere about it. I turned to her and said, "Do you accept his apology?" With the biggest crap-eating grin on her face, she accepted. Of course, tensions were high, so I said, "Sir, you've proven yourself to be the bigger man. I thank you very much for your apology. I suggest before we move on, we have a cup of coffee. How's that sound?" He agreed. I brewed up a couple of cups of coffee and we all calmed down, got to know each other personally. and he became my best client ever. Also, the employee in question is still loyal and faithful to me to this day. After he left, she was shocked. She never had seen a manager stand up to a customer like that before, especially in an industry where we only see a dozen or so clients a month. I personally, at my business, I put employees' needs ahead of the customer. I feel creating more satisfied employees creates a better environment, improving customer service. And our second story. Is this better? Years ago, I worked in the ER at one of the local hospitals. I was working admitting this day and doing triage. Today, I had an EMT student observing for a couple hours. Nothing new. We have students of many varieties on a regular basis. One of the areas I was responsible for today was the ramp. Not only do the ambulances use it for unloading patients, so does the general public. When the bell rings, someone is driving up the ramp. If it's an ambulance, I can ignore it unless we have them coming in with something critical, but we always know about that in advance. The camera monitor is directly in front of me, and the bell sounds at my station/desk. This is a great place for students because it's always changing and you never know what's going to happen next. I loved working triage. The student had a real problem with the definition of observing and was trying my patience. She wanted to be involved. I get that. However, working with patients and families who are already stressed, confused, scared, or injured demands a certain skill set and the knowledge for managing and sorting them. This was my job. After about an hour of having the student as my shadow, I had to quietly remind her that she needed to observe only and that I would be managing the patients and family members. She was free to ask questions after each situation and out of earshot from others. She kept trying to give advice, or opinion, or comment about things within earshot of patients and family. Not cool. The bell on the ramp rang, and I glanced up at the monitor to see what was coming up. I knew we didn't have any ambulance inbound, and sure enough, it was a car. It drove up pretty quickly, so I stood up to head to the ramp. My student jumped up and ran out the door to the ramp ahead of me. SMH. Usually, protocol is to wait for the car to pull in and stop and observe before stepping out. Heaven knows what the situation is, but now my student is there, and I need to take control and make sure she and whatever is waiting on the ramp are safe. As I approach the door, the male driver is now getting out of the car and running to the passenger side to open the door. My student has already reached the car and is opening it. The man is clearly wound up and yelling, "Give me a wheelchair! My wife is in labor!" As I'm watching this from about 10 yards away, I grab one of the wheelchairs that are parked just inside the doors, especially for patient use. My student has now made contact with the female, and I can hear her asking questions, and she tells the man to shut up. Okay, she is now way out of line. I approach and park the chair and say, "Excuse me," to my student, using my firm, polite, professional, and I'm in control voice. My student ignores me. I reach and gently touch her shoulder and allow my eyes to tell her in no uncertain terms to get the F out of my way. Smartly, she obliges, but is still trying to talk and give her opinion and assess the pregnant woman. A couple more looks and she gets the clue and shuts up and steps back. I assist the soon-to-be mom into the chair, reassure the soon-to-be dad, and assist them into the hospital and direct them to the labor and delivery floor. Normal pregnancy, no ER intervention required. Returning to the desk, my student is now silent. I take a minute to pull her into a private area to go over the situation. She nods her head and for the remaining time is simply observing. Perfect. Next day, the department head calls me into her office. Great. This is never good. Apparently, the student filed a complaint about me. My boss wants my story. We pull the tape at my request, and I'm cleared of any wrongdoing. Now here's where it gets interesting. Boss, you were right in stepping in and having the student step back, but according to her, your eyes expressed hatred and conveyed a threat which made her feel uncomfortable the rest of the shift. Me. How she perceived my silent correction is not something I can control. She was out of line and was escalating a situation. Boss. True. However, your eyes speak very loudly. You'll need to learn to control that moving forward. Me. What? Really? Boss: Yes, please tone them down. Me: Okay. Boss: Thank you. Next day, me walks into work wearing a beautiful pair of mirrored sunglasses. Looks at my boss, smile on my face, eyes completely unreadable. Is this better? Boss shakes head. What am I gonna do with you? Walks away laughing. When? And our last story. I'm actually your boss. I, 28-year-old female, used to work as a chef at a multi-site, multi-million-dollar club, and at the time of this incident, I was head chef of the function department. Even though I was head in functions, I was still one of the top-ranking team members in every other aspect of the kitchen. So when I filled in the restaurant, I was still in charge. Most of my duties were based at our golf club, as that's where all the weddings and VIP events would happen, and during wedding season, I would not step foot in any of the other clubs. I should also mention that I have a unisex name, but people always associate it with men, so when I'm mentioned in conversation, people always assume I'm a dude. Now, one year I hadn't gone to a main club in roughly 3 months, and during that time they'd hired a new team member, and through the grapevine I'd heard that he was super sexist and misogynistic towards all the female chefs, especially those under the age of 30. And he treated apprentices like trash. One day I was asked by my boss to work a shift in the main club bistro as the McGregor versus Mayweather fight was on and we were super busy. When I get to work, I'm gearing up, hat, apron, etc., and he comes into the back where I was, and before I can introduce myself, he starts giving me a tour of the kitchen. I keep trying to say who I am, but he keeps talking over me and saying, "There will be time for questions at the end." So I give up at this point and let him show me around. This goes on for 10 minutes, and my executive chef comes out and asks what we're doing. The guy says, "I'm just giving the new girl a tour. Wouldn't want the little lady getting lost. You know women already struggle with this job as it is." Cueing my chef, telling him that I was in fact his boss and had full authority to fire him if he continued to piss me off. Never heard someone stutter and try to backtrack faster. That must have been such a glorious moment. I bet it was retold for days. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.